First things first, the decision comes tomorrow. Owen Pappoe, nation's #1 offensive line, outside linebacker, Grayson High School, picked up his first offers way back in June. Picked up his Georgia offer way back in June of 2015. 6 feet, about 212 pounds, 210 pounds. 3-time opening participant. Both classes, I mean, he took some official visits recently. I do think it comes down to Georgia and Auburn. And you hear a lot of things here at the 11th hour about which way he could possibly go.
Pappoe was looked at by a lot of major schools early on. Why is his commitment so important?
Well, it seems you kind of think he's the nation's #1 outside linebacker. He's that instant impact guy. Tremendously athletic, fast. He gets off blocks well. He uses his hands well. Great instincts, physical. He's played at the highest levels of Georgia football. He's a 3-time opening participant, which is staggering to think about there. I think Owen might end up being the only 3-time participant in the history of the opening because they just don't invite a whole lot of rising juniors to that event. But Owen, the decision's going to come with the Grayson 4, and everybody's already sitting there thinking about how he fits into Georgia, how he fits into Auburn, and we'll just jump into that right now.
He's recently taken visits to Texas, LSU, most recently Penn State, though. That was during Georgia's G-Day. Are any of those schools still a big factor in his recruitment?
I think those were just trips he got to take in order to show the world, like, hey, you get these 5 official visits, why not? He did take some more unofficial visits on the down low over the last 3 or 4 weeks to Georgia and Auburn. I do think that what you're looking at here is a clear Georgia Auburn decision. Tennessee is probably his 3rd school right now, not how much that matters at all, but that's one because of his ranking and how much the name has been talked about that a lot of fans are going to pay attention to tomorrow.
It's rumored that Auburn's UGA's biggest threat to get Owen Pappoe is, I know we've talked about that quite a bit on the show, are the Tigers still a pretty big threat? I know we had Justin Sisk just comment in the comment section that one of the Grayson teammates committed there, so is Auburn still in play? Very
much in play. I think Auburn, depending on your sources you talk to, Auburn is really maybe even the team to beat now. Georgia is right there in as well. Everybody wonders if there's some sort of trickeration or hocus pocus around the event to kind of drum up the decision. I know this, I've spoken to recruits that tell me that they think that Owen will show up, will end up committing to Georgia. And I've spoken to recruits that tell me that they think Owen will end up committing to Auburn. So I don't know if it's 50-50, maybe it's 51-49. I know everybody likes to follow those crystal ball picks. The one thing I do think will happen now, my personal thought is I think maybe Owen's a little bit fatigued and ready to be over with this recruiting process. And I actually, my own personal opinion here, I think the decision he arrives at on Tuesday, on May the 1st, I think that will eventually be his final decision.
You mentioned, obviously, these schools want him because he's the nation #1 linebacker. What else would he bring to UGA? What is so key about Owen Pappoe?
Well, I just think he is a measure or a max lift that shows Georgia is really recruiting like nobody else, like gangbusters, like wildfire. I think the thing with Owen is I think the easiest and cleanest way for Georgia to have a class that rivals the 2018 class, another nation's #1 class, is you got to have Owen Pappoe in that. And I think Owen Pappoe is the type of guy that's going to send a lot of ripple effects. I think guys like Andrew Booth, I think Trevon Walker, I think other players you can go on to Warren Burrell, DJ Turner. I think that will be a signal that Georgia is still the place to be, and it will be much than what took place in 2018 where Georgia seemed to be getting all the in-state guys. I want to counsel a couple of things now. Georgia is going to have Channing Tindall and Quay Walker on campus, and everybody likes to drop the fact that this kid could be the next Roquan Smith, and maybe he can be. But everybody, if we point back to Roquan, splendid Roquan Smith, his freshman year at Georgia didn't play much at all, especially till the last few games. And really, Natchez Patrick was a freshman linebacker that got more early key reps compared to Roquan Smith.
One more question for you, and then we're going to go over to the comment section and talk about Pappoe a little bit more. Which school needs him most? Which class would he make the most impact in?
Well, that's a great question. I like that one a lot, Hannah, because there are 2 things to think about there. And, to give fair and equal time here, I think Auburn, the one thing Auburn offers him that Georgia cannot is Auburn offers him maybe a chance to get away a little bit away from home instead of 40 minutes away or 41 minutes away. from where he's at in Loganville and Grayson High School. And I think it also gives him more of an immediate need. I think when Owen Pappoe, if he were to commit to Auburn tomorrow, he would become the crown jewel of Auburn's class. Travis Williams, you can't say his name enough for how big of an impact he would make. But I think he's a guy that could really play really fast at Auburn because they're turning over their linebacker spot for the 2019 season. Huge, but I just kind of remember though, Georgia has recruited so well at inside linebacker. Monty Rice is there, Channing Tindall is there, Quay Walker is there, lots of options right there. And Owen Pappoe is a splendid special linebacker, but I don't see him coming in and starting his freshman year at Georgia unless he walks on water once he enrolls early in January of 2019.
Jeff, we're getting a lot of questions about what time he will commit. Our coverage starts live at 5:30. A few of the Grayson 4 will start committing around 5:45. And I believe Owen Pappoe is set for around more like 6:30, 6:40, right?
Yeah, it might be something like that. That's kind of
it all changes.
It's kind of an ebb and flow. It's not really on some sort of script or shot clock or whatever. I can promise you this, Hannah, and I can promise everybody out there in viewer Facebook live stream land that one thing is not going to happen is there's not going to be a Christmas or holiday pageant in the middle of that thing. And people are wondering, you know, some people that follow Georgia recruiting know full well about the Isaiah Wilson story. A couple of Decembers back, he committed to Georgia over Michigan and Alabama in the middle of a Christmas pageant. Well, there will be nothing kind of circus mastery about that. You're just going to go through 4 big, huge commitments for Grayson in 2019. And you got to admire the way the program's going about it here, as they want to get these guys to be locked in before spring practice starts, before their senior season starts, so they can focus on chasing a ring, but also be very comfortable where they're at heading into their last offseason, last summer conditioning before their final senior season.
Okay, here's the most important question. Where do you think he's going to go? Some people think you're leaning Auburn after you answered my Auburn question.
I think I'm just going to let Owen make his decision tomorrow and let everybody react to that. I think one of the things ethically I like to do is I don't get in the crystal ball business. I don't like to say this kid is going there, this kid is going there. I kind of try to toe the line there, just being an objective reporter as much as I can without, sometimes you hear things and sometimes some things are shared with you in confidence that give you a way to lean on a certain aspect. But to me, I'm not going to betray those confidences and let some of that information out.
Anything else on Owen Pappoe before we move on?
It's pretty stinking good. I mean, he's gonna make somebody very happy. Somebody's gonna be some double back flips and fist pumps. And what is it? The line from a movie. There's gonna be hearts breaking worldwide over Auburn and Lee County or Clark County or the state of Georgia tomorrow night, because that young man is going to be a bona fide gem in somebody's recruiting class.
People are